Hello students, today we are going to study the novel Vendor of Seeds by R.K. Narayan. Today we are going to talk about the writer, his writing style, socio-cultural background, themes and overview of the story, setting and plot summary, and characters and their inter and intrapersonal contexts. Rasipuram Krishnaswamy Narayana Swamy, commonly known as R.K. Narayan. He was born on 10th October 1906 and died on 13th May 2001. He was an Indian writer known for his work set in the fictional South Indian town called Malgudi. He was a leading author of early Indian literature in English. He was influenced by the writings of Thomas Hardy, Dickens and Arthur Conan Doyle. Because of his writing, he won many awards and honors. B.C. Benson Medal from the Royal Society of Literature, the Padma Vibhushana and the Padma Bhushan, India's second and the third highest civilian awards. In 1994, the Sahitya Academy Fellowship, the highest honor of the India's National Academy of Letters. He was also nominated to the Rajya Sabha, the upper house of the Indian Parliament. So when it comes to his writing style, Narayan's novel is easy to understand and has a surface level meaning. R.K. Narayan is a storyteller with adequate intellect of the tragicomic. His whole writing is about India and Indian society. He portrays his Indian society in his form, style, tone and assumptions. Narayan has remarkable command over English and used it as the medium of storytelling in the simple, natural and lucid manner. Simplicity of language and style imparts pointedness to his comic irony, hidden meanings through humor. Narayan uses popular Tamil and Sanskrit words freely in his novel, and this imparts naturalness and simplicity. So when it comes to his style, you can see we can understand the novel through his surface level meaning, and these novels are written about the Indian society, and he employs real characters that we meet in our day-to-day contexts. He does not use any imaginary characters in his novel, and he uses comic irony. And his language is simple, natural and lucid. Narayan is an optimist and he shows his extreme respect towards his country. He believes that whatever happens in the political and sociological context, India continues to survive. All of his novels are concerned with Indian identity. Moreover, his novels illustrate the extreme faith of inspirational and mystical nature of God and fate. Most of his novels end with the detachment of the protagonist from the worldly cares and issues. Before India got independence, Narayan published 4 novels. In 1935, he published Swamy and Friends. And in 1937, he published The Bachelor of Arts. And in 1938, he published an interesting novel called Dark Room. And in 1945, he published the novel The English Teacher. So all these novels were published before India got its independence. All these novels were published in USA. Narayan's language belongs to everyday world of ordinary people. It is the language in which the average Malgudians dream on their love and humor in their small wars they undergo with laugh and lament. That's why we call his novels are tragicomic novels. Tragicomic means the combination of happiness and sadness together. His style gives the distinct impression of a small South Indian community confined to particular temporal and special setting. Their manners and musings, conversations and thoughts, and instinctive reaction to things are depicted through the use of irony. His writing focused on ordinary people. This reminds the reader of the people who interact with us in day-to-day context. He wrote about the intricacies of Indian society, and he did not modify the real character attributes and their simplicity. He also uses dialogic prose with gentle language. Ordinary reader is attracted because of the simplicity of his language, and gentle beauty and humor attracted to it. Narayan's writing style can be compared to William Faulkner and Guy de Maupassant, since their work bring out the humor and energy of ordinary life while displaying compassionate humanism. Narayan juxtaposes the demands of society with the deprivations of individuals and brings out the pathos. Narayan is very simple and realistic in creating imagery. Narayan's short stories compress a narrative with multiple contexts such as religion, personal inspirations, culture, and society, etc. So we will have a look on post-colonial literature. Colonialism is subjection over another nation, and it is associated with the domination of economic, socio-cultural and political aspects of the conquered country. Post-colonial literature is a writing which has been affected by a process from the moment of colonization, and this includes novels, poetry and drama, which were written both during and after the British independence in August 1947. So colonial literature is written by the native people during the colonial times. Post-colonial literature means the literature written after the withdrawal of the power from the territory of the native people. Having got the freedom from the colonial rule, the post-colonial people thought of having their identity. So they raised their voice against the past exploitations and oppressions and attempted at establishing their identity. This deals with cultural conflicts even at the present time. Nigeria, Jamaica, Pakistan and Singapore has distinctive features of colonial literature which share some significant concerns and characteristics. Colonialism is subjection over another nation, so it is actually associated with the domination over the political aspect, cultural aspect, society and the economical aspect of a particular social context. Post-colonial literature is a process from the from the moment of colonization. In post-colonial literature, we can see critical writing. So the genre is novels, poetry and drama. During and after the British independence, and the post-colonial literature safeguarded the true Indian identity. In this novel, of course, we can see all these expressions. And through the critical writing, issues such as racism and exploitation are depicted. So the main aim of this post-colonial literature is to seek their freedom and identity. Post-colonial literary works deal with social, political and cultural issues of colonized countries and presents various aspects of problems faced by nations that are in transitional phase and are in the process of establishing their own national identities after gaining independence from colonial rule. It was under the scenario which gave rise to the first three famous writers of post-colonial or Anglo-Indian novels, R.K. Narayan, Raj Rao and Malk Raj Anand during the mid-1930s. They represented the religious and socio-political characteristics of the nation in a colorful and creative manner that reflected and at the same time safeguarded the true Indian identity. Now we will have a look at the language the writer uses here. The language is a powerful tool for reflection on post-colonial contexts. So, using this powerful tool, the writers talk about the history, literature, politics and religion. And this language is associated with the critical writing that execrates works reflecting colonial racism. So, this is actually a fictional reality written in 1967. So, this is conflict between modern and traditional cultures. This is written in Indian perspective, and the important thing here is we can see the generational conflict. It comes as a theme to us. This novel was published in 1967. This is a story of generational conflict and struggles. The story revolves around Jagan, owner of a small sweet shop, who is devout Hindu and his only son. He lives his life as prescribed by the Hindu scriptures and takes every superstition as a divine sign of the right path. He is married and has a son named Mali. Now, we'll have a look on the socio-cultural background of this novel. India, before independence, had smaller struggles for freedom. The uprising of 1857 was India's first widespread struggle against the British government. Even though it wasn't a struggle for sovereignty, it planted the desire for freedom in indigenous minds and shook up the very foundation of British rule in India. Now, we are going to talk about the setting of the story. The geographical setting of this novel is the post-colonial India, and the social setting is imaginary village called Malgudi. Setting means the time and the place when and where the story is set. So, this is the post-colonial India, imaginary village called Malgudi. Now, we are going to pay our attention for the main characters we find in the story. We find mainly 4 characters in the story. Except these 4 characters, we see another character called Mali. So, Jagan is the protagonist of the story, and Mali is the antagonist. So, the relationship between Jagan and Mali is father and son. Even though their relationship is father and son relationship, they function in this novel as antagonist and protagonist. So, Mali marries Grace. So, the relationship between Grace and Mali is husband and wife, and Ambika is mother-in-law of Grace, but Ambika never sees Grace throughout the story. Before Grace's arrival to India, Ambika dies when Mali was small. So, the relationship between Ambika and Mali is mother and son. You all can see this. Ambika is Jagan's wife. This is our protagonist, Jagan. He is a 55-year-old man. He is a seller of sweets, and he is a Gandhi script reader. Yes, more details on the protagonist. Jagan is the Gandhi script reader. He is caught in time, and he is actually a conventional character. He undergoes a certain spiritual change at the end of the story, and his wife dies, and he has to play dual roles, the role of the mother and role of the father for Mali. He is a round character. At the beginning, he is shown as a flat character, but at the end of the story, we can find he shows her, Jagan shows some round qualities. That means this character transforms to a certain extent. So, he is a Hindu scripture. And this is our antagonist called Mali. He is the son of Jagan. He takes his love for granted. He is intelligent and handsome. He creates a huge chasm between their relationship. Their relationship means between the relationship, father and son relationship. When he was a small child, his mother dies, and he believes his mother dies because of the bad practices of his father, Jagan. So he creates a huge chasm between their relationship, and he gets a certain mental trauma because of his frustration, and he believes his father belongs to a stereotype. He never accepts his father's ideas. And Mali belongs to the modern generation, and he is the antagonist. His role in this novel is as the antagonist in the story, and he is the son of the protagonist. So this comparison is very important for us. So this is a comparison between the protagonist and antagonist. Finally, we get the output of the generational conflict as the theme. So this study is very important for you all children. Now we are going to compare Jagan and Mali with their practices. So when it comes to the character Jagan, Jagan has certain traditional values, but Mali does not show any traditional values in him, and we can see a mismatch between these two characters. And Jagan is actually a culture obsessed person, but Mali is not such a person. So this comparison again gives us a certain mismatch. And Jagan seeks change. Jagan does not seek any change in his life, but Mali seeks a change in his life. So in this aspect also we can see a certain mismatch between these two characters. So when it comes to the faiths of Jagan, Jagan has certain faiths, and Mali does not. Mali does not follow what his father follows. So again we can see a certain mismatch between these two characters. And Jagan is not westernized person, but Mali is a westernized person, so there is another mismatch. Jagan is not a materialistic person, but Mali is a materialistic person. So again we can see the next mismatch of their ideas. This is the juxtaposition the writer speaks here. Juxtaposition means keeping two different things in two different extremes and discussing them through a certain comparison and through a certain contrast. So Mali's ideas are juxtaposed with the ideas of Jagan. Juxtaposition means the noun and juxtapose means the verb. Now we are going to move to the next character, Grace. So Grace appears in this novel as wife of Mali. She is a half American and half Korean lady. She adopts to India and Indian culture. She is a pleasant woman, and she is innocent, and she is a positive lady. The next important character is Qasim. Qasim is a messenger in the story, and he is a very helpful person for both Jagan and Mali, and he interacts with every and each person in Malgudi in a positive way, and he is a faithful person to everybody, and he interacts with everybody in a positive manner. This character is very important in this novel to talk about. This character brings the messages and the ways of thinking of the characters Mali and Jagan to the reader. Another important thing is talking about the interpersonal relationship. So here in our first row we can see the antagonist and the protagonist, father and son. So when it comes to the interpersonal relationship between this father and son, it is actually a negative relationship because they both have contradictory ideas. Father is a traditional person, and Mali is he belongs to the modern generation, and his ideas are somewhat different. So we can see a negative relationship between them. Next thing is the relationship between Grace and Mali. It is actually a questionable relationship. Even though they appear as a couple who show a good interpersonal relationship, they show some contradictory ideas in certain places, and ultimately Grace becomes frustrated, and this raises a question in the minds of reader. Then when it comes to the interpersonal relationship between Jagan and Grace, their relationship is actually positive. Jagan loves Grace, and he accepts Grace as his daughter-in-law. At the beginning he had certain confusions in his mind, but by and by they start a very strong bond as father and daughter. Then another important point is the themes of the story. Basically we can see the story shows the generation gap and the relationship. Married life comes to us as another theme, and materialism and spirituality and adaptation to the transformation of life is another theme. So generation gap is the main theme of our novel. So writer uses different literary devices and techniques. These are some of the literary devices and techniques the writer uses here. Writer uses symbols, allusions, imagery, juxtaposition, flashback, and motif. Motif means the recurring of the similar symbol throughout the story to support the theme of the novel. Now we are going to see the character transformation. Jagan shows no transformation in his life at the beginning of the story, but at the end he shows a certain transformation, but it is not huge transformation in his life. And Grace shows a transformation because Grace comes from America, and after coming to India, she starts living in India, following all the traditions of India, and becoming a very loving daughter-in-law to Jagan. And Ambika does not show any transformation. She dies a painful death, and actually she dies because of the bad practices of Jagan, and she does not undergo any transformation. She is a traditional Indian wife. And Mali shows a certain transformation. Even though Mali is bred and born in India, he goes to America and comes to India as completely transformed person. So this chart is very important for you all students. This is the story. This is the novel genre. We can see the sequential order of events here. So this is known as the plot. In the first level we can see the exposition. Exposition means the introduction of the characters and characterizing the characters. In the exposition means at the beginning point of the story, the writer introduces characters and characterizes the characters. Characterization means applying the qualities, habits, and appearance to a particular character. So here writer introduces the protagonist and his background and his relationships to us at the beginning of the story. So we know the relationship between the protagonist and the other characters in the story. After that we go to the rise in action of the story. That is actually the development of the story. So this is the gradual development of the story. Arousing the curiosity of the reader, the writer develops the story step by step. And after that we can see the climax of the story. That is the emotional high point of the story. Here we can see many emotional high points in the story. Jagan, when he comes to know that his son Mali is not married, he gets confused and he thinks of leaving home, and he expects a certain detachment from all his obligations, and he decides to leave. So this is one of the emotional high point in the story. Except that we can find many other emotional high points because in the plot, within the plot we can see subplots. That's why we can find many emotional high points in the story. So After the emotional high point of the story, we come to the fall in action of the story, that is known as gradual conclusion to the story. So this is the after the gradual conclusion, the writer comes to the ending point. Ending point is known as the resolution, where we get the theme out. So this is very important related to the novel genre. Now another important thing the writer uses here is the subplots. So why does the writer use subplots? So he uses subplots in the form of a flashback, in flashback form. Through flashbacks, the writer shows the married life and the arrangement of marriage and death of Ambika and Mali as a child. These things are shown through the perspective of Jagan. And Jagan's past is also depicted to the reader through the form of flashbacks, and his education, family, and Satyagraha movement. These things are shown through flashbacks. Now, sequential order of events. So as you all know, exposition, the introduction of characters, then the rise in action and climax, and fall in action and resolution. Now this is how the story is formed. Now we are going to have a look on the summary of the story. Okay, now we will have an overview of the novel. The novel centers on the relationship between Jagan and his only son Mali. Jagan is a sweets vendor. You all know the relationship between Mali and Jagan, and the role of Mali and Jagan's role. Jagan's role in this novel is as the protagonist, and Mali's role in this novel as the antagonist. These two characters belong to two different contexts. Jagan represents the older generation, and Mali represents the modern generation. Mali's observation on his father's attempt to cure his mother, who has suffered a brain tumor, with natural remedies creates a negative impression in his mind. When Mali was a small boy, his mother dies a painful death. So Mali thinks the death of his mother occurred because of the bad practices of his father, Jagan. Mali, now a grown-up man, intends to become a writer. He expects to attend a writing program in America. Without consulting his father's advice, he has taken this decision, and he becomes a dropout of the school and steals his father's money. Mali leaves to America, and Jagan receives quite short and cold letters from America in the next few years. When the story goes on, Jagan recovers that all these letters have been written by Grace. In America, Mali distances himself from his father's culture. This gives a pain to his heart. In one of his Mali's letters, Mali mentions that he has started eating beef, so this gives a pain, severe pain to the mind of Jagan, because he is a Hindu devotee. Mali, after 3 years, writes a letter to Jagan informing him about his return to India with another person. Jagan does not know who this person is, and Mali does not mention who this person is. He returns with a graceful, half Korean, half American lady. She is known as Grace, whom Jagan assumes as Mali's wife. At the beginning, Jagan shows a certain negative impression on the decision taken by Mali, but by and by, Jagan starts a strong relationship between him and Grace, because Grace's behavior is very positive, and she shows her respect to Jagan, and this becomes a strong bond at the end of the story. Apparently, Jagan is shocked, yet he likes the lady, as she is a wholehearted lady, kind to Jagan in many ways that his son is not. She changes the house to Western cultures and transforms it to such an extent uncomfortable for Jagan. Jagan's family members don't like this marriage and think it is a disgrace for them. Since you all know, Jagan is a member of Satyagraha, and he is an extreme follower of Gandhi's script. So this disagreement between these two traditions and cultures come to Jagan in a negative manner. It comes to Jagan through the perspectives of his relations. Jagan continuously gets certain letters from his family members. He gets one of the letters from his sister, and he becomes embarrassed, and he thinks finally, if there is no any wrong in Grace, this marriage is suitable for Mali. Mali desires to start his factory producing publication and printing machines. So the starting of the factory of producing publication printing machines is actually a symbolic event in the story. This printing machine is something like giving human attributes to a machine. So Jagan believes that this will give a certain harm to the connection between Mali and the god. And this printing machine functions as a symbol, and this talks something beyond the human context. To start the company, Mali asks Jagan for the loan, but Jagan says he is not ready to give any money to start such a company. And another important character, Chinnadore. When the things are going on in this way, Chinnadore, another character, visits Jagan. This is actually a special incident happens in the life of Jagan to seek the transformation in his life. He tells that every person at one stage of his life must depart himself from others for the sake of others' peace. So, this experience gives Jagan a certain idea to get away from his all the problems, get away from all the problems that he has in his life and seek the emancipation. So, this is what ultimately Jagan does in the novel. He leaves all the worldly pleasures and the connections with people, and he leaves to forest for his own emancipation. Jagan, in his discussion with Grace, soon discovers that Mali and Grace are not married at all. This gives a severe pain to him, and he senses a disconnection with his home. He leaves his home and fled. So, this is known as Vanapasta. So, this is withdrawal from the materialistic world and hand over the responsibilities to others. He sets aside some money for Grace to buy a ticket for her return journey and departs for the grove. So, this is the ending point of the story. Right. Today we got a lot of information about the novel, and next day we hope to start from chapter 1 to chapter 4 summary and analysis, and we would be talking about the techniques, and I would be giving you some questions at the end of each and every chapter. So, altogether there would be 16 questions. I hope that you all enjoyed the session.